Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prism Files, Sketched Out Orchestra, Part 2.
Welcome back.
How y'all doing?
Oh, it's good to be have organs. So today, we are continuing our journey into the Sketched Out Orchestra, and we will be talking about pretty much the Renaissance era of my music this time. So let's get started. So we're going to move into the over-under OST. So over-under, for context.
Yes, over-under.
Yes. So over-under was an RPG game that I was making in RPG Maker. And it was okay. It was fine. I made a lot of... Yeah, it worked. I made a lot of characters for it and stuff, and like the story could have been better if I had a brain at the time.
I don't remember the story being that bad though.
It's fine. I think it had a lot of concepts going for it, but I didn't have enough of a development brain to make it work. Like I didn't have enough of a game designer's mentality to be able to get it to work, or the patience to get it to work either.
No, that unfortunately no. That also, it was all like basic RPG stuff.
Yeah.
As well. So like, yeah.
It was all the RPG Maker like basic assets, yeah.
And you can't even like futz around with a lot of it too much either.
You can make your own custom sprites and stuff. I was just lazy and also didn't know how to do it.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking some of the animation stuff that you would play with in between. Like there wasn't a whole lot of like
leeway.
Wiggle room.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of it was just what they had.
Yes.
But I made a soundtrack for that because obviously, and the soundtrack was made actually using an online program. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it essentially allowed you to make music that sounded 8-bit.
Was it Bebop?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Beatbox.
Beatbox. It was like Bebop, Beatbox, one of the two.
Beatbox, yeah.
And I still have it on my computer.
Yeah, and I think I made all of the music through that, and it was all right. It was pretty good. It was, it fit the vibe that I was looking for. Each area had its own music. I think there was some music that I didn't even end up using. But the whole point of that game was that there was an overworld and there was an overrealm and an underrealm. And the idea is that you would switch between each of the realms, and the underrealm would expose things about the overrealm that you wouldn't see. It was basically Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Did Link to the Past do that?
It was basically Link to the Past, yeah.
I actually genuinely forgot.
Yeah.
Because I know Link Between Worlds definitely did that concept, but they just played with the idea that you can slap yourself on a wall.
Yeah. A Link to the Past was time travel, where like you travel into the future and then to the past.
So it's Ocarina of Time, but flat.
Basically, yeah.
Huh. I gotta really finish Link to the Past. I actually.
But I think they called it like the Dark World, but because I think it was like in the Link to the Past.
Did they?
Because I think like Ganon won or something.
I mean, Ocarina of Time, same essentially happens.
I know, but it's like, it's just weird. I don't know. It's weird to me because I thought they were different like dimensions. Because you use a mirror.
Yeah, in Link to the Past, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know why they would call it a Link to the Past. That's more of a Link Between Worlds than a Link Between Worlds is.
Yeah, ironically enough.
Anyway, that's not why we're here.
No. We're here to talk about the Sketched Out Orchestra, and Over Under has one of my favorite songs that you've done, which was like the boss theme. I don't even know.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't know if is that still on here?
It should be.
It's probably near the boss battle.
Which version? The over version or the under version?
I don't remember.
Because I made two versions of every song. I made an over version and an under version.
I remember, I think if I had to guess, I would say it was the over version, only because I only heard one version, and my assumption is that your default would be the over version.
Maybe. I don't know. I think both are good. I think the under version has a bit more grunge to it, and it's kind of cool, but regardless.
Either way.
So that swiftly brings us to Welcome to My Dreams.
Oh.
Which is so good.
It is so fun.
I don't mean to like make this podcast about, me bragging about my stuff. But that's what this podcast was made for. So if you signed up for it.
You're still here, right?
Yeah.
Right?
But like
Hello?
Like, yeah, everyone left.
Oh.
Everyone clicked off.
Come on.
But like I like this album a lot. It was a very big step for me when it came to music because the music actually sounded like music and not like loops. And also like the album art is one of my favorites. And like the concept of it was really nice. And I just feel like that like it's such a vibe.
It is truly a vibe. Like, I love, like, more than half of those songs are on my playlist as of now, with the exception, I think, of the outro and the intro.
Yeah, because it's
only because that's just text-to-speech.
Yeah.
But, like...
I did that for a few albums, and I apologize for that.
I mean, that's fine, but, like, I love, like, just some of the stuff behind it. Like, Bubble Bubble, My Toilet's in Trouble.
I love that title.
It's such a good title alone, and the song kicks butt. Like,
I think the song... I'm not a huge fan of the song itself, but like I think it's hilarious and fits perfectly for what I was going for because literally the song is about a bad toilet trip.
yeah.
It starts off with a hectic piano that I just did customly.
You just mash piano keys and then like did.
Yeah, like as if you're knocking.
Yeah, like I really have to poop.
Yeah, you're like it's like ding, like realization, then ding, 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 like you're running to the bathroom, and then ding, 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 is you knocking on the bathroom door. And then the song starts and it's it's so yeah, literally, and it's like it has begun.
And then the rock starts.
Yeah, and then it is like my only like heavy rock song. And
it's like one of the heavier rock songs. I think that's why I like it so much.
That's probably why, yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is at the very end, it ends with like a little like, I think it ends with like a nice little like
like a
piano thing. Yeah,
like dun.
Yeah, it's dun because it's like, I'm all set, I'm all done. I can leave
Yeah,
now.
the battle's over.
Yeah.
I got 15 XP.
Yeah, it's like
for taking a dump.
it's God, it's so funny.
It's so good.
This was definitely around the time that I started playing with like doing custom piano stuff or like trying to make it more personal. Because I remember even like for Concept of Cancellation where when I made the racetrack songs, which by the way,
yeah.
the Grand Prix songs are some of the best pieces of music I've ever made. If you haven't heard them, do yourself a favor. Go listen to them. They're so good.
They are really good. I still think Welcome to My Dreams and Later is better. But
Well, there is a Grand Prix after Welcome to My Dreams.
there is.
It's in the archives, but we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
But those
Stay tuned.
but those songs were really good because it's the song starts with dun 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 because it's a race song.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's really fun and that's really cool. And so I tried to incorporate stuff like that more into my songs. And the toilet song was one of those where I was like, yeah, I really want to incorporate that and stuff. I don't think I think that album also had a Welcome to the Show on it.
It did.
Which was, we were going to try to start a podcast a while ago, and that was going to be the music for it.
Is that why you made that song?
Yes.
Oh.
And then it just became a really nice song. So I
Yeah.
just kept it and used it for the album.
Oh, if I had known, we should have used that instead.
Nah, March is better.
Yeah, I guess March of the Bioprism is much better.
It fits the vibe a little more. I like In the Head of the Witch.
Ooh,
a lot of these are themed after something specific.
Yeah.
Like Welcome to the Show is based off of like, podcast intros, TV shows, whatever.
Yeah.
In the Head of the Witch was, if you couldn't guess by even just listening to it, it's a Banjo-Kazooie reference.
Yes.
It's intended to sound like Gruntilda's lair. In Love with an Android that's actually a funny story because that song was made because that was a love song for somebody that I had a crush on at the time.
Was that really?
Yes, it was.
Huh.
And that person commonly displayed themselves as like an android.
Ah.
So that's where that song came from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then
That explains the sound.
In the Palm of Your Hands is a Game Boy reference mixed with New Super Mario Brothers.
That explains the vibe of that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bubble Bubble, we talked about that one already.
Excuse me.
The
Yeah.
Planet of the Dinosaurs. I mean,
Star Fox Adventures.
yeah, if you know our content, you know that one.
I remember you played that song for me, and you're just like, "Does this remind you of anything?" And I'm like, it kind of does a little bit. And then you pointed out the name of it, and I'm like, and I was just sitting there clapping and screaming.
Dan
like,
slapping his thighs together. Ho, 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 ho.
yeah, that's how I clap.
Yeah. And then That's All Folks is just that. I mean, that's an homage to Looney Tunes, and then just it wrapped up the.
It just
album.
wrapped up the album, yeah.
So
Which is absolutely a good time.
yeah. And then that leads us to my next single, which was Mad Dash to Safety, which that one was just a desperate attempt at making a music during COVID. That's literally all it is.
It was just like, I have to make music.
Well, it's mainly just like it's that feeling of like trying to get into a better headspace and the mad dash that happened after quarantine ended to kind of get things back to normal, which is why the stick figure has like bandages over their head on the album art, is because like, okay, quarantine's over, now it's a mad dash to get things back to normal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that one was. It was called Mad Dash to Safety, and I believe the parentheses is post quarantine.
It was, yeah.
And then that leads us to the best single of all time, Dinner for One.
The microwave.
I had made a spinning pixel art microwave, and it was amazing, and I love it. And it is the canvas for the Spotify version.
It is.
And it's perfectly looped.
Every time I play that song, I literally just watch it.
It's such like a vibe of a song because it's literally just like waiting for your food in the microwave.
It is.
That's all it is. And the joke that this came from was somebody parodied, you better not shout, you better not cry. 5 minutes left on his microwave rice. Santa's making dinner for one. And I was like, that needs to be a song right now. And it's like he's checking the ingredient, like he's looking at the ingredients, he's checking them twice, 5 minutes left on his microwave rice or something like that. And then I think I added the Santa's making dinner for one part. I think I added that. And my friend was like, that's hilarious. And I was like, I'm going to make it a song.
Now it's just Dinner for One, canonically, is Santa staring at the microwave.
Yes.
For microwave rice.
It is canonically a song about Santa waiting for his rice.
That's even funnier now.
Yeah, it is really funny.
Like, I listened to that song because it's a chill beat.
Yeah.
So I can just kind of like chill out, kind of sit back and kind of relax. And then now thinking about Santa just kind of like with his face on the microwave.
I have to draw
like,
this.
Please do. Please do.
I have to draw this.
And then send it to me because I want that.
Yeah. God, I'll make a whole thing of it.
Please do.
That'd be funny.
That's so good. It should just be like an animated music video where it's just that picture and then the rotating microwave.
That would be funny.
Oh my God.
So after we successfully cooked our meal, we move into the archives. So the archives is basically just like, hey, remember all those songs I made? Here's them again, but they're remixed and modernized and even better than before.
Indeed.
And I think that they came out really well. I think some of them came out really well.
I remember them coming out pretty well.
Yeah.
I know you did a remix of, what was it? Raceway USA. Yeah, that's what the name is.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Death by Go-Karts is what it's called now.
Death by Go-Karts.
Which is, I think that's a really funny name because it fits the vibe of the new version.
It does.
Because it's very heavily like, it's like intense and it's like, it's awesome. If you haven't listened to it,
It's like, oh.
yeah, it's really good. And like I remixed all the Bloom for Brawl songs into one, and I called it Laser Tag, and that one's really good too.
Spelled with a Z and an S.
Yeah, and it's just, oh God, it's so good. But it's like, I like that album a lot. It was just basically a remix of a bunch of old songs. The album art is a remix of Welcome to My Dreams album art. And so I tried to include like everything in it, and I thought it was really cool. And that's basically the only story, is that it's just I wanted to remix a bunch of my old songs.
Yeah.
I had made a lot of progress in my music career. So I was like, yeah, I'll just make like I'll remake a bunch of songs and see what they would sound like nowadays. And there we go.
Yeah, that was the whole point, and it turned out really well.
Yeah.
I remember listening to the album and being like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
neat.
This
Sounds pretty good."
This then brings us to when the Cartridge Crusaders started, and I started making music for the Cartridge Crusaders.
That's right. Did you make music for the Cartridge Crusaders?
Yeah. Surviving the Security Breach.
Oh, those ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
those.
Sorry,
No, I didn't make the intro and outro music.
I thought you were talking about those, and I was like, "Hold the phone."
No, we borrowed those. Those
Yeah,
are
no.
not ours.
No, those are royalty-free songs,
And they're linked in the description of the Cartridge Crusaders videos. So
they are pretty cool, honestly.
they're good songs.
I remember finding the outro song. I forget what the name of it is. It was
Bread.
like Bread. It was just Bread.
It's called Bread, and it's by like Lucrembo. Or
Yeah.
Lucembo. I think it's Lucrembo.
I remember one of the things I was looking. Okay,
Don't worry about it.
someone's the microwave rice is done.
Yeah.
But I remember finding that song by accident because I was like, "Oh, what's a good outro song?" I wanted it to be something chill, and I was
Yeah.
looking through like royalty-free stuff, and that song came up, and we both looked at each other like, "That one,
That one's perfect. Yeah.
that's perfect," and
And it fit the living room aesthetic too.
it did. It
Yeah.
did back when it was a living room.
So during this time for the Cartridge Crusaders, whenever we played a game and finished it,
Yep.
or when it was like ending or whatever, I made a song for it.
Yep.
And so that's where you get Survive the Security Breach, My Simulated Life, Fight Against the Mansion.
Which is my personal favorite.
It's mine too. It's pretty good. But
It's so
when
good.
I remade them for later, those became my favorite versions.
Oh yeah, because you genuinely took like what made those songs good and you expanded on them.
Yeah. The only one I didn't really do that for was My Simulated Life, which I do apologize for that one.
You just
But
made
the
it feel-
other two were really good.
You changed the vibe of My Simulated Life
Yeah.
in a way that I think improved it.
If you say so, I think the original's still better.
I mean, the original's not bad, but like I like the newer one only because the beat of the other one was a little too slow for me.
But I liked that it was slow. That was the point.
Well, that's fair. That's just not this is just my personal music taste. I'm just not a huge fan of that kind of thing under normal circumstances.
No, that's perfectly fine. It's more my thing. So when I made those songs, I was
yeah.
like, this is fun.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
God, is this difficult?
Yeah, I actually did want to throw in one more thing. The Luigi's Mansion one for
Yes.
Fight Against the Mansion.
Yeah.
I remember you playing that song for me.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to the sound effect that you make in the song that's supposed to simulate a ghost scaring you.
At the end.
No, it's like the dun 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 dun. Ha! It's like that sound.
Well, yes, that sound effect was to be like that weird, creepy ghost choir, like a creepy ghost choir, like chiming in
Yeah.
type thing. Yeah.
But I remember looking at you and saying like, that's not what that feels like. This actually feels like you're walking, you're like in the, you're like near the mansion, but it's, they sound like crows,
Right.
which makes me think of the crows of the very beginning of the game. And I was just like, this is too perfect not for that to be the crows.
Right.
And I think you played into that later on.
And then later at the end of the song, there's a ghost laugh. Yeah. So that was, and I put a ghost scream at the end of it, and like that, it's a ghost laughing. Like that's kind of the whole point. And so that's
Oh yeah, like the ha 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 ha.
yeah at the very end. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that became more of like what the ghost thing was. But the song sounds like it belongs, like not in the game, but it belongs to
But
the game.
surrounding it.
Yeah. And so I do really like that one, and I think it came out really well.
I agree.
I know after that, or in between them or whatever, I made an album called Lo-Fi Mall,
You did.
which that one was literally the entire concept behind that was you're in a mall,
Yep.
and it's playing lo-fi music
Yep.
over the speakers.
Yep.
And it sounds like it too, because I put like a high-pass filter over it.
You did.
So
I remember hearing this album and being like, wow, this actually does just sound like music in a mall.
that was the point.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to? And I had a Christmas song in it and a Halloween song in it, because malls always like to capitalize on those holidays.
Oh, yeah, of course.
My favorite one in that is Electronic Loiterers.
Right.
I love that song, which then got retooled for Mousetrap and
It
became
did.
the Mousetrap theme song.
I remember the day you played me the album.
Yeah.
We were driving around. I think we ended up at the mall at one point. and you looked at me and you're like, what did you think of this song specifically? Like
Yeah.
Electronic Loiterers.
And you were like,
And
that's
I was-
all right.
I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my favorite. I think it like could have been better.
I thought
And you were crushed.
yeah, because I loved it. I thought it sounded awesome. And I liked the way that it carried itself, and I really liked the way that the way it was. I was like, this sounds awesome. And then you were like, it's all right. I'm like, oh, come on, no, don't do that. Like, don't do that to me. And so, like, I think I went back and tried, like, I kept that version. That's the version that's on the album. But I remember going back and retooling it. Funnily enough, I retooled it for my next EP, Traditionally Electric.
Oh, yeah.
Which the concept behind that one was I took traditional Japanese stylings of music and incorporated it with electronic elements.
Yeah. So you essentially remade like a handful of songs and you turn them into this like Japanese style, like song.
Yeah.
Like you took In the Head of the Witch and turned it into The Heart of the Warrior.
Yep. I
You
made
turned Fight Against the Mansion into
Fight Against the King.
Was it the King?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Electronic Loiterers became... Oh, shoot. What did it become? It's right there.
I was gonna say I have the Spotify open just for this occasion. Electric Samurai.
That's what it was, yeah. And that version was great, too. Like, that version improved upon the original version, and it sounded really cool. And the part of the song that I really wanted people to appreciate was pronounced a little bit more in that version. And so it sounded a little bit better.
I gotta listen to that now again because I love the Mousetrap song.
Yeah.
Because that we'll get into that.
We
more
will
when
get into
Mousetrap
that.
comes up, but that song I started to love it later, and now that I'm in that point where I love that song again,
Yeah.
I need to pay attention to the older version.
Yeah. Because you might hear it now.
Yeah.
Because I pushed it to like 13 out of 10 when I made the Mousetrap song. The original song, I put it to like 7. For the traditional electric one, I pushed it to 9. For Mousetrap, I cranked it to 13 because I was like, I need you to hear this because it sounds epic. And I think it would be really, and it's really goofy and it fits the vibe of Mousetrap. But right. Anyway,
Yep. All right.
So that's where traditionally electric actually came from a comic that I made about a fox from the 21st century who travels back in time to the samurai age and meets a rabbit.
Which is, I think, like the 16th or 17th century.
I can't remember. I thought it was 14th, but
Samurai were around for as long as the 1800s.
okay.
Because there's
Well,
an
the
old-
1800s would be the 17th century then. No, sorry, 19th century.
It'd be the 19th century.
Excuse me.
Because there's an old saying that it is historically accurate that Abraham Lincoln can send a fax to a samurai.
Wow. That's crazy.
That is canonical.
Wow. That's canonical.
That's canonical. All of those things in history existed at once.
That's crazy.
It's like, I believe it was either a fax or a telegram. It was one of the two.
Regardless, that's
Either
insane.
way, that's still really weird to think about.
Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, so they travel back in time and they meet a young rabbit samurai. And she cuts him down from like a tree because he's like stuck hanging in a tree. He's wearing like sweatpants and a backpack.
Yeah.
And she's wearing like tape around her chest and she's got like these like flowy pants and she's got like a sword and
Yep.
she's got her ears tied back and she's very serious and he's such like a
Doofus.
he's such like none of the words I want to use I'm allowed to use. But he's very cocky. That is the most appropriate word I'm allowed to use. He's very cocky and he's very like he's very coy. And it's very interesting to see her get flustered and aggravated, but then also save his life when
Yeah.
he's being like kind of a sense of this
Tool.
smart ass. But that's the whole thing where it's like, I think it's really funny. But I made that comic for a class, and so I finished the assignment early, so I made some music to go along with it, and that's where that EP came from.
Okay.
The comic was literally just called The Fox and the Rabbit. It's not released anywhere. I probably should. the rabbit and the environment are all like the outlining and the style are different, and the fox is like a solid like 21st century cartoon style. So like I tried to like vary that, so I thought that was cool too.
That was a nice little addition.
Yeah.
That was a nice little addition. Like, I appreciated that. I remember looking at it and being like, oh yeah, here's some things, because I remember there was like some faults with it in terms of the design, and I gave you like a few things to be like, all right, here's to make it even better than to make it feel a little bit more unified.
Right.
Yeah. And it turned out really well.
Thank you.
It did turn out really well.
And then the piece de resistance, the multi-circus.
Ah, yes.
The multi-circus,
30-minute animated project done because it.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Oops.
That's okay. I just said screw it one day, and I was like, I'm going to make a 30-minute animated project, and it took me 2 months, and I love it, and I think it's really cool, and it's on Bioprism Studios' YouTube channel. The channel, if you're on YouTube right now, the channel that you're listening to this podcast on, you can watch the multi-circus.
Yep, and I highly recommend it. It's a good time.
Thank you. Yes, please go watch it. It is a part of the Bioprism Anthology series, which is what this whole podcast is basically about.
Yep.
It will be a lot more later, so just it's imperative that you read up on your comics. So go to our Itch.io and read the comics, and watch the multi-circus and Mousetrap and all that stuff on the channel.
All a fantastic time.
Yeah. And then Gene and Clark will be here in May of 2023, sorry. It's 2023 now.
It is 2023.
Gene and Clark will be out in May of 2023. So if you're listening to this after that, hey.
What's stopping you from watching that?
Go check it out. After you finish this episode, go check all those out.
Yes.
So the multi-circus needed a soundtrack. It's probably the most varied, like, musical thing I had to do because all the styles are different because you're jumping from dimension to dimension to dimension.
Yep.
The basic plot of the story is that a version of me opened up a circus, and one of my characters, Cassie Cat, comes to inform me that the multiverse is falling apart and that we need to fix it. And so we're following a trail of like these rifts that are opening in space-time through these different dimensions to kind of figure out what the root cause of it. Eventually we do figure out what the root cause of it is, and we put a stop to it. And that's what the Multi-Circus Project is. It's basically Zany Zooland the movie, but I called it the Multi-Circus.
Well, because it doesn't revolve around the entire Zany Zooland cast. It's just Cassie.
Well, no, because the Zany Zooland cast comes later.
I mean, they do come later, but it's still more focused on you and Cassie.
True.
More than it is Zany Zooland.
I also think it's interesting because the Zany Zooland cast finally got their voices.
They did.
Like, the entire cast... That was the first. We will talk about the multi-circus in a future episode. But the music itself was very fun to make. I had to make like a Winnie the Pooh type song. I had to make like a retro style song, and I just remixed In the Palm of Your Hands for that one. Yep. I had to make a theme song for Cassie. I had to like incorporate like a theme. I had to start making a theme song for like all of my stuff that people would be able to recognize whenever they watch my projects. So now if you watch any of my projects, you'll hear bits and pieces of like my theme song throughout all my projects because I needed to come up with a central theme, and I made it, and now you'll hear bits and pieces of the different themes I've made throughout all the other projects because of it. And I love that because I think it's really cool. And like the heart of the multiverse and the circus theme and fixing mistakes, like all those songs were really fun to make because they've become like the theme songs for this series, but also that they're vibes, they're fun to listen to, and they're like intense and like of varying degrees. And I loved making the soundtrack for this project because it's such a mix of like fun and energetic and laid back and like mysterious, and it was so much fun to make. So releasing that felt like a like wow, like that was, I'm very proud to release that.
That was definitely a milestone for you.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. And I think that like we're entering a point in my creative career now where it's less about quantity and more about quality.
Yep.
Because now I'm not releasing as much anymore, because I was releasing like albums and singles and EPs like multiple times a year.
Oh yeah, it was like once every like month or couple months.
Yeah.
like
Now
you were releasing something.
Now it's only like maybe once or twice a year.
I remember there was a point in your career where you would literally release something like once every month,
Yeah.
even if it was a trailer for a project you said you wanted to do,
Yeah.
but you'd never go through with it.
Right.
Because you
Now-
would always have like constant things being like, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. Like, and I was sitting there like, dude,
Yeah. Make something.
stop.
Yeah.
I was like, stop, focus on one thing.
Yeah. And now we're finally at a point where I'm doing that.
You are doing that.
And it's
Better
fantastic.
than I am, honestly.
Make something.
I'm working on it.
Dude, stop. Now it's my turn.
No, the problem is I'm too focused on Cartridge Crusaders and
That's- yeah.
the podcast at the moment.
Dan does a
all my
lot of-
creative energy is going to that.
Dan does do a lot of personal stuff, or a lot of, he does a lot of work on projects on the back end, like editing and like making sure that everything is on time. And so Dan does a lot of supporting work for a lot of these projects. So show some love in the comments or I'll come for all of you. Anyway, so after I released the Multi-Circus soundtrack, I made Panic to the Beat.
Right, which is essentially almost an Archives Part 2.
Yes, it was also a love letter to Mad Rat Dead.
Was it?
Yes, Mad Rat Dead is, for anyone who doesn't know, Mad Rat Dead is a rhythm platformer that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's great. You should play it.
It came out in 2020, and if you haven't played it, it's on the PS5 or the PS4. Please go play it.
Please.
I don't think it's on Switch. I think it's only on PS4 and PS5. I would check that, but it's really good.
Google will tell you. Google will tell you.
The soundtrack is insane. It is so good. It's only you can't find it anywhere. It's only in the game. I like just barely found it. I'd like scour the internet for it. But the soundtrack is amazing. The game is really fun. But I wanted to make an album that mimicked it. And so the album art mimics the cover art for the game. The songs have the mindset of how they made those songs from that game in mind, where it's a lot of EDM and it's like heavy and it's fast. And I took a bunch of my old songs and I remixed them. And it's funny because this is the first time we actually heard a song for Mousetrap before the Mousetrap soundtrack even came out.
You're right.
By a full month.
Yeah, because you remixed the Mousetrap theme in here.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. That came out. I'm literally looking at it. Mousetrap is the latest release on Spotify. And Panic to the Beat came out literally like a couple months, like you said, a month before.
1 month, yeah.
Yeah. So you technically could have heard a version of the theme song before it even came out.
It's true.
Everyone was like, what do you mean? Like, what was the name
The
of it?
Mouse Anthem.
It was like, what do you mean the Mouse Anthem?
Yeah.
Because everything else is clearly like a remix, except for March of the Bioprism.
Yeah. The trailer for Mousetrap was out at that time, though. So if you knew that, then you knew what that was.
I mean, that's true, but that's assuming you were paying attention to the trailer.
Right. Panic to the Beat is also where my favorite versions of, except for My Simulated Life, but my favorite versions of the Cartridge Crusaders come in. So Fight Against the Mansion Round 2.
Oh, yeah.
And Surviving the Security Breach, which has been renamed to Becoming a Superstar, which if you get that reference, you get a gold star.
Then you're the superstar.
And it was a lot of fun. Becoming a Superstar is slaps. Fight Against the Mansion Round 2 makes it feel like you're having a panic attack of the best kind.
It feels like the first time, but even harder.
Yeah. And then this is also where our intro and outro song comes from, March of the Bioprism.
Yes, it is. It's this album that this song has come from and is personally one of my favorite songs you've ever made.
Yeah.
Because it is consistently good. Every time I play it, I blast it.
Yeah.
Like
It's probably one of my favorites, too.
It's got a perfect beat that you could easily do like anything to.
Yeah.
Like I said this in an earlier episode. I made a project at one point that literally, if you know what the Dr. Livesay memes are, like I made a version of that, but instead of like the song they used, I used March of the Bioprism and I used Gene Clark and Cassie to make it because it has a similar beat that you could easily make that kind of meme template.
And it was fun too. It looked really good.
Yeah, I gotta work on that again, but with actual good backgrounds.
Yeah, I got to give you the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now that they're done.
Yeah, and I know better what the story is.
Yeah. So that was awesome. I love Panning to the Beat. I think it's a really good album. Ballad of the Circus is on there too. I believe also a song called End of an Era is on there, which is literally just, it is a love letter to every album that came before that and my very early years. So like you'll hear instruments and loops that I used a long time ago in that song, because the idea is that we're ending this era of my music career and entering a brand new one.
Yep.
And I already kind of left that era behind me when the Multi-Circus came out. Like the soundtrack for that came out, but I wanted Panic to the Beat to kind of mark the end of that. And then Mousetrap kind of picked up after that.
Yeah.
And that soundtrack is just, it's all right. It's pretty good.
Mousetrap is just all right.
Mousetrap. Well, because the title theme for Mousetrap is awesome.
Oh,
it
it slaps.
I don't think I have said this before. I have not peaked since the Mousetrap intro theme. Like and the Mousetrap theme has been made for a little while, but it's like I made a bunch of songs afterwards and I was like, I feel like I cannot live up to the Mousetrap theme. I've made perfection and I can't live up to it anymore. Like March to the Bioprism is really good, and The Heart of the Multiverse is a solid song, and like the Gene and Clark theme song is pretty good too, but it's like,
oh, that is really good too.
The Mousetrap theme song is just such a bop. And it's like, I can't reach this level of perfection ever again. It's so intimidating. It's like, oh, dang, like there's such a bar to reach now. And it's like, it strives me to work harder, but it's like, man, it's like that. I feel like I just did so well with that song. Or it's just, I was like, oh, man.
Well, the thing you got to do is you have to compare yourself to your failures. You can''t compare yourself to your successes.
Right, exactly.
Because, like, yeah, you have compared yourself to your successes, and yeah, did you peak a lot? Yeah, you've definitely peaked a lot. Like, you've done so many good songs and so different in so many different eras that they just constantly, the peaks keep getting higher. But like,
well, thank you.
But you always look back at what you've done as a whole,
right,
and just been like, I could do that, but better.
Yeah, because I'll look at the other Mousetrap songs they made. I'm like, this is kind of mid. I could have made that better. Like, one of my favorite songs on that album is Return It Found, which is the Mayor's theme.
Yeah, that's right.
I just like that one.
It's all
personally.
Right.
I think it's a good, solid song. I think that has good energy to it. Like, there's not a lot to it, but I just like how it sounds.
I feel that way about, I think it's Warren's theme.
Oh, Mouse.Trap.
I believe so.
Yeah. That one's good too. That one's just kind of like the Mousetrap's like secondary theme, if you will.
Yeah.
Warren's theme is pretty good, yeah. And it's funny because Chris's theme uses instruments from my themes from the other projects.
Yes, it does.
So, which was the point.
Well, yeah, because it's you.
But it's just, there's so much to unpack with all of our stuff that like, this is why I made this podcast, because I really wanted people to understand that, like, there's a lot of love and attention and detail going into these projects.
Oh yeah.
Like, they may not be Marvel, but like, you know,
no,
or
but
even
they're
Disney, but it's like, I feel like that there's a lot of, I put a lot of work and effort into them, you know.
Therefore, they're better.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's
Yeah.
a great jab at the industry you just did there.
Yeah.
Not that I disagree with you.
Put more effort into your stuff, Disney. I don't want to.
Dang.
I don't want to. I just don't want to see the same crap hashed out over and over and over again.
This man's
just being
calling
like,
out the
ha
mouse.
ha ha! I'm a superhero. I have moral implications. No, we need more than that.
This man's calling out the mouse himself.
I am.
Where's story?
Speaking of Mousetrap,
Yeah. where are stories like Loki, where like the hero's kind of a jerk, but you love him anyway?
yeah.
Like that's why I loved the Loki series so much, and also it has to do with time and space. So of course I love it.
Well, yeah, of course.
And it's Loki. I look like him.
And he's working with Morbius. How do you not?
Morbius?
That was his name, wasn't it?
No, Mobius.
What?
It's not. Morbius is the vampire.
I know, but this is timey-wimey stuff, so...
I know, but that's not. His name is.
I'm looking that up now.
It's not Morbius, I can tell you that much.
Give me a second. Oh, you're right. It is Mobius.
Yeah.
Whoops, never mind.
It's Mobius strip.
I'm just an idiot.
It's weird because there's Mobius and Morbius, so it's confusing.
It's literally one letter off.
Yeah.
I think that would be even more hilarious if Michael Morbius was actually working with the time. That was it, the TVA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
TVA, I think. Or TVA.
It was like the time something.
We're off track.
I know. Yeah.
We're deferring from the timeline.
Yeah. Focus on the music.
The music. So yeah,
The mouse.
Mousetrap, pretty solid soundtrack. I like it. It's pretty good. And the only thing that really leads us to is the stuff that hasn't been released yet.
Pretty much.
Which
So there's like the Gene and Clark soundtrack. That's
the Gene and Clark
soon.
soundtrack, which I'm currently working on, which I'll be honest, I know I'm setting a high bar with this. It's probably my best soundtrack.
That is a pretty high bar you're setting for yourself.
It's a pretty high bar. I've worked a lot on it. I've put a lot of time and effort into it. And like not all of the songs are like A+ bangers, but there's a lot of good songs on that album. And I'm very excited to share it with everybody. And I think it's probably my best best soundtrack so far. So I'm very excited. There's some songs that I didn't use in the project that will come later, unfortunately. So you won't be able to hear those songs just yet. But I am very, very happy and excited with how the soundtrack is coming out. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I won't talk about it just yet. But
Nah,
it slaps. We'll talk about it
that
when
on the Prism files.
Yes.
When Gene and Clark comes out.
yes. And then the only other thing that I would say is that I made a song for a show that we were going to make called Compact Cosmos.
Yes.
That is not happening anymore.
No.
But we are using the song as the theme song for Bioprism Entertainment in general.
Yes.
That's also not out yet, but it will be eventually. We've got a whole rebrand happening soon, so whenever that happens,
yeah. It'll probably be a little while.
it'll come when the Cartridge Crusaders ends, so it probably won't be for at least another year.
Won't be
maybe.
a while.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. So, and if you didn't know the Cartridge Crusaders was ending, and this is how you found out, I'm sorry. Because I realized that this is coming out way before the episode that we mentioned it in.
Yeah.
So-
but you should also be fully aware that we're still gonna do stuff.
Yes.
Like we're still gonna do like the recordings and all that. The only difference is that Michael won't be permanent anymore.
Yeah.
Because he's moving.
Yes.
And we're gonna have a harder time getting together to do recording stuff. So we're just gonna keep it like a little bit more free range. So we figured with him leaving, we will end the show.
We're
as
ending
it
the
is.
show, not the format.
Correct.
So we will continue to do Let's Plays. We will continue to play games and do all that stuff and all that fun stuff. We will keep making content for you guys. It just won't be under the Cartridge Crusaders banner anymore. The
No.
Cartridge Crusaders as a show will end. And also, we're not just going to end it with, here's Chibi Robo episode 4. We're ending
No.
it with a bang, so don't worry. That bang will be shooting off on Bioprism Studios, so please make sure you're subscribed to Entertainment and Studios to get notified for both types of videos.
Should we release that on Also Entertainment?
No, because I don't want to be a money-grubbing hack and put it on both.
All right, you know what? That's fair.
All the big projects go on Studios. All of the community-based stuff goes on Entertainment. So, and since the Cartridge Crusaders do play a small role in the Bioprism Anthology series, it's okay that they're on Studios.
Okay.
So make sure to tune in for that. I won't say what it is, but it's really exciting. It'll be a lot of fun. You guys, I think if you watch Cartridge Crusaders, you will love how it will end.
Yes.
We're sorry that it's ending, but don't worry. We will continue doing Let's Plays. Michael will come back every once in a while, but he won't be permanent anymore. So we're going to rebrand a little bit. But it'll be
Yes.
good. It'll be fine. Don't worry. I know there's some of you that love Cartridge Crusaders. You know who you are. And we love you for watching. We greatly appreciate you.
Yes.
And we hope you'll keep watching. We promise we won't stop making Let's Plays, just not under the Crusaders banner anymore.
Yes, it'll just be under Bioprism Entertainment. The show is not over. It's just being renamed.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Anyway, that's all the time we have. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Prism Files. We appreciate it. You can find us. You should be able to find us anywhere. We've been having some issues with pushing it to other platforms, but hopefully that gets resolved soon.
I mean, you also already found us.
True.
So,
So we are available on YouTube. We always will be, and Spotify. So always tune into those.
Yes.
But other than that, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Prism Files. We hope to see you in the next one. Make sure to tune in, and we'll see you all later.
All right.
Play that music.
It's already been playing.
Was it?
Yeah. What do you? Huh?